This video presents a typical custody case and the factors that should be considered at the family court. Domestic violence is an important factor in the family court's determination of child custody and visitation. In cases of domestic violence, children are often the only permanent link between the victim and the perpetrator. Helen has been a victim of domestic violence for several years. Helen and her husband Paul have a 5-year-old son named John. Her husband has a history of violent behavior, and there have been several police reports and a restraining order against him. Helen filed for divorce and full custody of John, citing Paul's past violent behavior and his verbal abuse since the divorce. She fears that the violence will continue despite physical separation. Paul is asking the family court for visitation with John. Helen is deeply concerned about the potential risk to herself and her son if Paul is granted visitation. The court must decide whether to allow Paul to have contact with John and under what conditions. What is important to consider in this case? Victims of domestic violence often suffer severe psychological distress, which can make them appear unstable. Judges should be aware that perpetrators are often skilled manipulators who have crafted a narrative that casts them in a positive light and the victim in a negative one. Perpetrators often claim that the victim is intentionally alienating the child. Allowing perpetrators access and control over a child often means maintaining control over the victim. The court should consider appointing a child psychologist to assess John's psychological state, taking his young age and potential trauma into account. The court should request police reports documenting incidents of violence, medical records if injuries have occurred, and any statements from witnesses who observed the violence. Also, they should give Helen sufficient time to prepare her case together with her legal aid. Given Paul's history of violence, supervised visitation in a controlled environment, typically facilitated by social services or another third party, may be considered to ensure their protection. Further information on domestic violence can be found here.